30?
Yeah.
This is a prime year. This is you're in your prime.
Yeah. 30 years old. He's played 100 games, though. That's always been his MO.
Yeah, I'm sure he's done well defensively. We haven't watched it, but I mean, that was hard to believe. How did I get out? You've not you. Are we okay? Are you're?
I'm playing through it. We're good on iHeart, but apparently we're muted on YouTube and X right now. Maybe that's why Gubas or Langston couldn't hear us.
So your arrogance, once again, is defeating us. Mark Langston, we could see Langston. Everything was going great, except Langston couldn't hear us. And Cody, who always thinks it's everybody else's fault. Always.
Well,
Cody,
if I mess with it now, it's going to kick us off iHeart.
Cody always thinks it's everybody else's fault. Technology. Are we back? Are we live? Can they hear us?
We'll find out. Let's see.
By the way, showing Shohei Ohtani up there, Dodgers, Clayton Kershaw coming back tonight for the Dodgers. Obviously, guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. That'll be news.
That game's already over.
Is it already over? Oh, they beat the Giants.
Kershaw won 4
wow.
innings.
You going after your friends in the black and orange?
Kershaw won 4 innings.
Yeah. Dylan Cease throwing no today for the Padres in Washington.
I actually have the audio of that if you want to hear it.
We've got all kinds of National League West news. So,
but yes, we're back. Confirmation.
Is that 2 out of 3 for our Dodgers against the Giants?
That is correct.
Big Blue. What do they call them? Blue. What are they? Blue something?
No idea.
How the G-men do? How did the Gigantes doing?
Does that mean that the Giants might become sellers at the deadline?
God, it'd be the greatest thing ever.
Do you trade Robbie Ray after his first start, or
God, Robbie Ray looked good last night?
Do you trade Blake Snell?
Who'd want him? Who would want Blake Snell right now? Who would want the money? He got his money, and this is what Blake Snell is. What Blake Snell is. There's been 2 times he's been great. Both times he's trying to get a contract. Giant sellers. Wow, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. A's playing great, and the Giants being sellers would be like one of the great gifts of this season.
I'm waiting to see if there's anything good on Twitter. Giants fans.
But the one thing that people I saw earlier today, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, Mason Miller's going on the DL or the IL." If I said this to you, Mason Miller going on the IL guarantees he doesn't get traded. I didn't think he was getting traded anyway. You were going to have to so overwhelm the general manager of the A's. I mean, way overwhelmed. Was it Greg said to me, Jackson Holiday? I mean, you'd have to have would I do that deal? Oh, in a second. Jackson Holiday for Mason Miller?
Yeah, I think I would do that too.
I'd do it in a second. You're giving me a guy that could be a star position player for. Yeah. But if I tell you, A's fans, Miller going on with the pinky issue, him going on the IL leading up to the deadline will pretty much guarantee that he doesn't get traded. Are you cool with that?
I mean, yeah, I am.
I mean, how many people be like, yeah, I'm good with that. So it kind of, really just takes it out of the equation.
Because I think you can still technically get traded on the IL, but
totally. But they're asking so much, and I could be wrong, but maybe just him on the IL, A's would be asking for so much because David Force has spelled it out. When you're talking to these general managers, they're like, "Yeah, first of our top 8 prospects, it's non-negotiable."
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're telling me that I can't get your number 1 or your number 2, Mason Miller is non-negotiable. I don't think there's a dance partner out there. I mean, you would literally, Jackson Holiday would have to, if Baltimore, who needs help, you got to give up your best dude. And they're not going to do that. No.
I think, all the trades I've seen, like the scenarios that Jim Bowden's thrown out there and Jeff Passan and all the inside guys who are talking about Tarek Skubal going from Detroit to Baltimore. Every trade involved every guy in Baltimore except Jackson Holiday, because I think they know they're not going to trade him.
But if I'm the Tigers,
that's who you want back.
What? Everybody's acting like I have to trade these guys.
Do you not want them because you have Javi Baez playing short?
This is why I keep talking about stop the MLB Network's trying to build up our expectations for this draft deadline bonanza, just like they built up the winter meetings in Nashville. Nothing happened in Nashville. Nothing. Except at the very end when everybody left, then Juan Soto got traded.
Yeah. For how many guys? It was 4 or 5 future guys.
No big signings. No, this deadline's going to be the same thing.
Yeah, we're already on Thursday. The deadline's
I mean,
5
I
days
can't
from
even
now.
believe that one of our broadcasters went on the Pirates, whatever. Is it the flagship station?
It is 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh.
And talked about trading Brent Rooker for a top 25 prospect. There's no way that's going to happen.
Pirates have their mindset on Jazz Chisholm, apparently. So and take him.
We're not going to trade Rooker for your 12th ranked prospect. There's no reason to.
No, not at all.
The trading deadline has absolutely changed. People don't want to believe it, but it is true. Why are you just going to, unless you have to trade somebody, if ownership comes down and says that guy's got to go, well, then why? There's Brent Rooker is not a free agent until what, 2028? After the 2027 season.
So he'll be what, 32 then?
You're going to trade him for some dude who's like the 14th ranked, the Daryl Hernandez of the Orioles? No. Why would you do that? Makes no sense. Makes no sense. You have a player for a long time that you're not going to have to. I mean, I know he's going to go to arbitration. He's going to make a little more money. Remember, the A's do have to spend some. With all the revenue sharing out, they do have to spend some. I think Brent Rooker will, unless somebody comes in with something legit. And then if people come with legit offers, then yes, you have to be okay with that. But unless you're going to see that, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it.
Because we've seen over the last few trades, the Olsen trade, the Chapman trade, even go back to Donaldson. It's always been quantity over, they've been wanting to get multiple guys back instead of just doing like a 2-for-1. It's been like 4 or 5 guys coming back for one. You know, how many guys were in the Olsen trade? There's what, 3 or 4 guys. Same with Chapman.
There was 4.
Yeah. So you're getting several guys back instead of just a couple guys. When instead of trying to get prospects 1 or 2, you're getting like 4, 5, 9, and 10. Kind of like what the Marlins got back for Luis Arraez when he was traded. They didn't get the top guy from San Diego. That San Diego's like, well, I mean, AJ Preller will trade anyone, but the number 1 guy for them is Ethan Salas, a 17-year-old catcher. I don't think they're going to flip him, but they end up getting other guys, and they were going for the quantity over the quality, I guess, in that way.
And Dan O'Dowd did it last year. I used to have it. I think I have it somewhere, where our buddy Dan O'Dowd, former GM, was in the front office for those great Indian teams in the 90s, broke down like over 500 players, prospects who have been traded, and the percentages. The majority never made it to Major League Baseball. The ones who did, the majority of them hardly made a dent in Major League Baseball. And then there's a select few that went on to do great things. So the reality is, if I take a Brent Rooker, who I don't have to move, and I have control over for years, the odds are whoever I get for him, player or 2 players, they will not make the major leagues. And if they do, they'll hardly make a dent at the big league level. That's what the percent. If we're gonna play the percentages, and everybody's playing percentages, I mention it all the time. Hedge fund baseball. This is like hedge funds. Hedge fund baseball.
Like, okay, just go back to like several. Go back to the Donaldson trade. Which one of those guys in that deal made a dent for the
Franklin Barreto.
Sean Nolan, where's he at? Brett Lurie? Well, I mean, okay.
On his nails.
Yeah.
It's just a
so
weirdo.
the Chapman trade.
Sean Nolan.
Chapman, Kevin Smith's gone. Gunnar Hoagland's finally healthy, pitching in Double-A, I want to say. So you got him. Who else is in that deal? Kirby Snead. He's now a Mariner. He was. So all the guys are gone except for one. In the Olsen trade, Pache's gone.
But never forgotten, because I have the Instagram. Thank you. Thank you, Pache.
Now he doesn't even. He barely gets in the lineup for the Phillies. I know they're the best team in baseball, but it's just the way these trades work out. I mean, you're getting a bunch of guys, but who knows?
You're wishing on a star.
You're wishing that maybe 1 or 2 of them might be.
You're
good.
wishing. So if you got somebody that you don't have to trade, that's why David. I mean, I wish we would have had the camera on David after the interview, and I'm like, hey, and he's like, man, could be wrong, but if I'm wrong, that means somebody came in and they actually gave some stuff up. Which, by the way, whether I'm right or wrong, I don't care. But I'm just trying to tell you, I personally do not think we're not open for business. There may be some smaller deals.
There's a couple of relievers, I think.
But if you're like, if guys get dealt, essentially somebody paid a price. And then you can't complain. But going over after random 18th prospect in X amount of I don't think that's happening. I'd be shocked. After the way David acted with us on the air and off the air, I would be shocked. You're going to have to come in and give him something. You're going to have to pry these guys out of his hands. And that's a good thing because you know what? The team's gelling. Do I need to remind you of how well, despite what happened yesterday, the A's are batting .280, including a major league leading .365 with runners in scoring position in the month of July. They lead Major League Baseball in OPS. What is OPS?
On base plus slugging.
They lead it at .866. They rank second, and they're tied for second now in home runs. Who has more home runs than us in July?
Let's take a look. We'll keep going. I'll see if I can find it.
Because we've hit 35 home runs this month. There's a team that's hit more home runs than us this month.
I find that hard to believe, but let's see.
You got to applaud them. I mean, because it seems we've hit a ton of dingers. We're tied for second in home runs. We're tied for third in extra base hits and have a run differential. Remember when we used to have fun with run differential? Billy Bean, when I used to do the Billy Bean show, Billy Bean always talked about how run differential was important.
Rockies.
The Rocktober?
Rock pile over the last 15 days have hit more home runs than us.
How many?
24. How many we have?
We've hit 35.
Well, I went back 50. Okay, let me see. We'll do last.
It's the month.
So it's still the Rockies, I think.
Okay.
Either way, it's a National League team.
Cal Quantrill is one of my favorite players of all time now. And I can't talk about it because this is a family show. But if you lip read, follow John Boy on X. And there's a couple people who did it. Who's the Jared Carabas?
Yeah, that's Dallas's podcast partner, yeah.
Yeah.
Carabas,
yeah. Is it Carabas or Carabas?
He's on. He did MLB draft stuff too for the network.
He did it. Cal Quantrill. You gotta read the backstory. Cal Quantrill may have had an all-time rag on another player in the history of the game that started a major dust-up. Cal Quantrill, I tip my cap to you, my friend.
Where's the respect, like the kid with the Derek Jeter? That's what you're doing. It's so good.
I tip my cap to you. If you don't know what we're talking about, how did I get that out of the shot? If you don't know what we're talking about,
it's all over X. Go look at Talking Baseball or one of them. It's all over.
There's a backstory. There's a rag. There's a dust up. And by the way, Cal Quantrill with the old sinker could be traded.
Yep.
Jack Flaherty. I mean, how would you not want Jack Flaherty right now?
Well, my favorite,
he's thrown for the Tigers.
My favorite is, well, the Orioles can get him. The Orioles got him to the deadline last year, and that didn't work out for them. So maybe they'll try it again this year. By the way, the Rockies do have one more home run than us in the month of July, but they played 2 more games. The Reds also have 35 home runs.
Tied for third in extra base hits. The run differential in the month of July plus 41.
Well, yeah,
which is the best in the majors. We've outscored, after being outscored in June by the great Mike Selleck in his notes, after being outscored 108 runs through the end of June. We're now a plus 41 this month. So the A's are hot. Why would you break this up? You're building something. We're starting to see, my eyes are saying, and obviously this isn't a homer tank because I ripped the hell out of them. And after going 17, it started ripping it, going, what are we doing?
If you want homer takes, we'll bring Johnny on.
Oh, wow. I think the A's are going to be the greatest team ever. That's my hot take. Well, how do we criticize you if you're wrong? Then we look bad for criticizing. It's soft.
Love you, Johnny. Hope you're listening.
But right now, you are starting to see the start of something, right?
That's what I was telling. I think I was explaining this to my wife. I think she asked me about, do you think anyone's going to trade? I'm like, no, because they're building something going for it.
This is for Road Trip Mike. We need to play like a champion today.
we're going into a situation where we're trying to build something for the future, and I know people don't want to hear this, but you're moving into a new city, a new ballpark next year. You don't want to bring in a team with.
Why did you have to go there?
Well, I mean,
you're just that's so you. That's so you.
Just saying.
I'm trying to sit here, build continuity in the A's family, and you're being divisive. You ran as somebody that was going to bring us all together, and then now you're tearing us apart.
Well, people change as they get older.
Do they? Do they change?
Yeah.
Especially even 3 years that fast? Just jokes. It's just jokes. I told the Aletmus Diaz tribute video joke to one of the coaches, and he couldn't believe I said that.
Oh,
he thought it was funny, but he was too soon.
Well, it was funny. Okay, so
he hit 108 or 106 for us. We can't make fun, but we kid because we care.
So we made that joke and how then the Astros signed him and played him against us. Dodgers signed Nick Ahmed yesterday and played him against the Giants after the Giants DFA'd him last week.
I think Aletmus left town batting .091.
I don't think he's going to end up being on the Astros roster after the deadline.
Wow.
They'll probably. I said they're going to give Vlad Guerrero Jr. And I'm sticking by it.
So we'll have more of this with Billy Owens tomorrow, but you're starting to see it, right? I mean, Geloff has got to cut down the strikeouts, but
he has the most strikeouts on the team.
Geloff still is going to have pretty decent numbers for if we call it a bad year. Lawrence Butler is literally out of his mind. I mean, the numbers on Lawrence Butler are it's last 19 games. His slash line is a batting average of 415, an on base of 472, and a slug of 923. That's crazy. 15 extra base hits, 8 are home runs, 24 RBIs, and his current 7-game hitting streak, he's hitting 571. And he's doing this from the leadoff spot. You look at J.J. Bleday. I've gushed over J.J. I love J.J. Bleday. J.J. Bleday for me right now, because Lawrence Butler is such a great story for our organization, but he hasn't done it all year. There's one guy other than Rooker that's done it all year. I give Toro a lot of love because Toro was good before he got hurt. Had a couple hits. Good to see that. But J.J. Bleday's manning center field. He's playing a premium defensive position, and he's tied for he was tied. Did Duran have a double yesterday? Red Sox play yesterday?
Yeah, then they lose 20-7. Wasn't that the game where
Rockies, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was the dust-up game.
I don't know what he ended up doing. But.
Going into yesterday, J.J. Bleday was tied for the American League lead in doubles, and he's playing center field.
Yeah, they're still tied.
That's a big deal. So you look at your outfield, Andujar. He does not have to be traded. If there is one guy to go, he may be the guy that goes, but he doesn't have to be traded. So all of a sudden you got, if you go into next year with Andujar, Bleday, and, knock on wood, everybody's healthy, you go with those three, that's an outfield, and Rooker DHing, that's 4 legit bats. You only got to have 5 other guys.
And we think we have a legit guy. It's shortstop. He just happened to get hurt in his first game.
He's legit. He's going to get compared.
Oh, I heard it.
He is going to get compared to somebody. Tomorrow, I'm going to tease you with this. Billy Owens, who is the master at comparisons, right?
Very true.
He's the master. He's got a comp for everybody. Like, he's going to compare Lawrence Butler to Cliff Floyd. Our friend Cliff Floyd.
Yeah, Cliff Floyd had a nice career.
Yeah, terrific career.
Expo Marlin.
And then now, great job on MLB Network. We had him on the show because Amelia Schimmel, the voice that you know of the Coliseum, used to be an Emmy Award-winning producer at MLB Network. She helped Cliff make the transition from player to broadcaster, and we found out, Cliffy is big on watches. He's got a $1 million+ watch collection. He likes watches. So when we were breaking down watches with old Cliff Floyd here on A's Cast Live a while back, which was a lot of fun. You and I don't have that kind of money to have like X amount of watches worth a lot of money. But the watch game is his game. Telling time is Cliff Floyd's game. And he gets compared to Lawrence Butler, or Lawrence Butler gets compared to him. Wait till tomorrow, who Billy Owens compares Jacob Wilson to. He's an all-time great who you don't like. And I'm going to leave it at that.
It's a fair way to put it.
And when he said it, you and I both sat up and went, what? No, it's not A-Rod.
Every time we mention A-Rod, I think of that scene from the other guy's movie I told you. But I'm not going to get into it because talks about we don't want to give it away.
Yeah. It's shocking. But Jacob Wilson, Geloff, Tyler Soderstrom, at 22 years old, what's he going to look like the next couple of years? He's going to be a basher.
I thought it was interesting what he said about the draft and Nick Kurtz.
Oh, Tommy Tanks. Wait till you hear what, because listen, we drafted a bunch of guys that had been playing in the number one baseball conference and had a lot of success. Oh, by the way, two of the guys we just mentioned, J.J. Bleday and Brent Rooker, came from that same conference.
Vandy and Mississippi State.
Yeah. Nick Kurtz, did not come from that conference. He's ACC. Cal Stanford Atlantic Coast Conference. But Wake Forest is Wake Forest's baseball team was one of the early adapters to throw all this money into technology. And it's a great story about how they've utilized their, because these campuses have hospitals, right? They have medical centers. And Wake Forest, they have that department where you're training to become an orthopedic surgeon. They have partnered with the people who are training to become orthopedic surgeons, these doctors, to future doctors, to work with the baseball department to try and figure out how to end having Tommy John surgery. And so they have these throwing programs that they have with these players at the Wake Forest Hospital with the baseball team, developing throwing programs to figure out how to keep guys healthy. Well, I can tell you at San Jose State, we don't have a hospital on campus.
There's not even a hospital close.
Well, the one downtown.
And you got Kaiser down off Cottle.
Yeah, Good Samaritan up here off 80. We got hospitals in San Jose, but San Jose State, we didn't have a hospital. We didn't have a throw program.
Coach Porro didn't have you guys in a lab?
Neither did Fullerton or Long Beach or San Diego State or Fresno State. Us state schools don't have that. But they do at these schools, right? You go to North Carolina, Alabama,
Missouri.
I'm kind of mixing SEC and ACC, but you're talking about just baseball because you're a nerd. I'm talking about these schools having hospitals that they're working with their athletic departments. It's unique now of how they've done. We're taking people who are medical students and working with the athletes of our university. Because these campuses are massive campuses, and they have hospitals, and they have, people get medical degrees, and it's interesting how they're blending the two for the first time. And so I thought when I read that whole article about Wake Forest and working their pre-med students, working with, the future doctors are working with the pitchers and the players. Wow, that's really cool stuff. Can't hurt. And if we're keeping guys from getting hurt, and when we talked to Nick Kurtz about, playing at Wake Forest and all the data in the world available to you, obviously he's a very educated young man. These guys, we just have to get used to that. These guys, this thing has been in their life forever. What is this in my hand, Cody?
A cell phone.
No.
Technology?
An iPhone, a computer that can make phone calls. When was the first iPhone ever come out?
2000.
Because I remember having a BlackBerry.
I had one of those. 2007.
I had the first BlackBerry.
I had a BlackBerry.
And it wasn't black. It was blue. The original BlackBerry. I was working at KMBR. I was doing the morning show. I was the singular wireless guy. When was the first BlackBerry? It was blue and you couldn't put it in your pocket. That was part of the problem. First BlackBerry.
1999.
Yeah, so it was around 2000, 2001. It was like, wow, I can actually, and we were just kind of starting to email, right? It was all new. So these kids that are coming to us in Major League Baseball, like maybe some of you watching today, have always had this. So technology for them, like, it's weird because their coaches are still learning, right? Our coaches are old. Our coaches grew up without computers. It's just a reality of it. And they understand the game. And I'm not talking about just when I say our coaches, I just don't mean the A's coaches. I mean everybody's coaches. It's why David Force went out and hired the pitching coach from Wake Forest to be kind of like a pitching coordinator. I mean, the older coaches are learning the technology game. These younger players, they live it. They've lived it their entire life. They have had technology at their disposal. School, life. So it's second nature to them. So our players that are being drafted now, when you got a guy coming out of Wake Forest like Kurtz or Tommy Tanks coming out of LSU, these are big-time athletic departments with tons of money. They're flush with cash. And so they're coming in as prepared. Now, you still got to play. You still got to make it happen. See ball, hit ball. And when you get on that mound, you got to get people out. But reality is these players coming in, then what jump the other pick out of LSU.
Mm-hmm.
These
third rounder.
These guys are compensatory pick, right?
Yeah.
So you got these kids that are coming into pro ball more educated, trained. I'm not saying they're better. They just have had better education and they understand technology better than and every generation is going to be like this. Because all of a sudden, there's new Rapsodos. There's new Etchatronic cameras. There's always going to be new things that people are learning to use to get better. Like TrackMan was the standard for all those years. Like TrackMan was on every range on the PGA Tour. Now there's new stuff in golf to figure, there's always new technology coming into sports. These kids are going to come and educate us. How do they use it? Right? It's like the minor league players. Don't forget the minor league player. Do we have to get to some?
We've Langston. All
right. So the minor league players kind of taught us about the new rules. We didn't know about the new rules. Hey, how does the pitch clock work? Does it work? Oh, yeah, it's fine. Wait a minute, because the old dogs up here like, oh, that'll never work in the big leagues. You can never put a clock in the big leagues. How many times did you hear that?
I still hear people that don't like it.
Doesn't matter. How many people say it'll never work?
A lot.
You can't put a clock in the big leagues. Oh, these big league people. These people who talk about the big leagues. They talk about all these things would never work. And by the way, they've all worked. Bigger bags. Has anybody even mentioned bigger bags?
No.
Has anybody mentioned? Everybody I know goes, thank God we're not doing the shifting. The shifting was terrible. Terrible. And we need to even change it more. We need to change it to where you can't play anybody, shade people up the middle, let alone move them over. Make them stay in a standard position. Hell, back in the day in the NBA, you couldn't play zone. You had to play man to man. You couldn't play box and one. You couldn't do a 2-1-2 zone for you people who know hoop.
I used to always employ the box and one
or a 2-3 zone. You couldn't do that.
Or 3-2. Well, you want to cover the 3-point line. No one plays inside anymore.
So bottom line, you can do that. But you can't do that in the big leagues. That's crap. So these young kids, and this draft class, they could be here quick. Jacob Wilson showed everybody you can be here quick. Go down there and dominate, and you can be here quick. Because the reality is college stars shouldn't hang out in the minor leagues very long. Go ask Will the Thrill. How long do you think those guys were hanging out? Those Mississippi State guys.
Yeah,
I think Jeff Brantley spent a boatload of time in the minor leagues.
Just look at the last couple years.
Rafael Palmeiro, those Mississippi State guys, and Bobby Thigpen.
The Angels the last few years with Neto and Sean O'Well, and the Pirates with Paul Skeens. Skeens was only down there for not even a year. these guys are coming up. Jacob Wilson's. Hopefully we see Kurtz at some point next year. And Tommy Tanks. That'd be great to see Tommy Tanks. Grow the mullet back.
Tommy Tanks is, if there was ever a kid who showed up who is just beaming with confidence and beaming with just he's got bravado, he's got all of this, and it's like he like totally tamed it down, right? And it's bursting to get out, but he's gonna put on his best face, whether it's the agent, his parents, or whatever. They're like, all right, you're not taking Tommy Tanks to when you get drafted and you got to go sign the contract. You're not showing up Tommy Tank. Cut the hair. He was dressed up. He was very reserved in the interviews. You look at the stuff on YouTube, this kid is ready to be a star. Once Tommy Tank starts hitting tanks again, the bravado will be back. And guess what? I'll applaud every minute of it. But I get it. He didn't want to come in. He didn't want to do the old Phil Nevin right away. He's coming in a little reserved. I'm going to feel my way in.
He sold the chain on, though. I'll give him credit. I like the chain.
Tommy Tanks will be back. I can't wait for Tommy. Tommy Tanks reminds me of? The Redbeard.
Oh, I can see that, yeah.
Justin Turner.
If he could hit like Turner, that'd be great.
Well, unbuttoned chain,
Well, Turner a couple years ago, not Turner now.
Turner just went yard the other day for the Jays. Come on, he's like 39 years old.
How many home runs is he got? Let's see. He is 39 years old. Great call.
He's 39. I'm a big Justin Turner fan.
6 home runs. He's 39.
He's 39. He's got 6 bucks.
You wouldn't take 243 in baseball right now? He's hitting league average.
I'd take him right now on the A's.
I don't know. OPS plus at 100. He's average.
He's average.
OPS is league average. He's a little below league average on the OPS.
How many games has he played?
85. Okay. We're around 100 games.
The Redbeard. Hey, for a guy that can't play any defense, he's made a lot of money for himself in his career because he could hit. He went to one of those hitting gurus at one point when he was leaving the Mets, right?
Don Latta, down in L.A. 36.9 career WAR.
Give me his career earnings for a guy that can't play defense. Okay. See, this is who Jordan Diaz should be, by the way.
$135.6 million.
How much?
I rounded up. $135.595 million.
So a guy that the Mets got rid of and had no defensive position and just figured out how to rake made $135 million. And the most of his career is in the 30s.
Yes.
And you wonder why we can't get any of the star players to ever be broadcasters. He's made 135. What do you think all these other guys are making? So you want to get all these other guys to get on planes and fly around the country and do color for baseball every single day? It ain't happening. You're not getting – Albert Pujols would be phenomenal. When they put Albert Pujols on, Albert Pujols is way better than Pedro Martinez.
Yes.
Way better.
You can understand.
Big Poppy's terrible. Albert Pujols can break down. I'll say it again. I watched him do it, and he was a terrible base runner, but he's smart, and he broke down base running. I went, man, Pujols is fabulous. Problem is, he's made $300-something million in his career. So you're not going to get Albert Pujols to show up every day and grind. It was like when everybody talked about Piazza would be great doing television every day. You're not getting Mike Piazza. You're not. These guys made hundreds of millions of dollars. They're not going to grind baseball every day. You know why Jim Palmer grinded? Because he didn't make $200 million. Ray Fosse didn't make $200 million, so they grinded it every day.
I think who's a big broadcaster, because we're going to get to Langston, who was a former player, made a lot of money back in the day, at his time.
At his time, yeah.
Trying to think of like just all sports. Romo, maybe? Tom Brady now?
Yeah, but you're going to a sport where they're playing. They show up and basically work like 2.5 days.
I'm just looking at guys that made like
a week.
Yeah, baseball wise though. I mean, if you look at team broadcast, I'm trying to think who's a.
Name me a guy that is a $100+ million guy who's traveling around the country with a Major League Baseball team. It is a grind on the road. It is a real. It's hard.
Yeah, like a lot of the guys that are like broadcasting, like guys like Keith Hernandez and stuff, are great players. And their time they
didn't make that kind of money. that's why I always like God love him, my guy Ray Fosse, but Fosse loved it. It was in his blood. Baseball was Ray Fosse, right? Ray Fosse, but it's like Ken Korak. I mean, these guys, I mean, it's to be that age and to travel around and to be, staying up late at night and flights into cities. Cause people say, oh, you're on a charter, you're on this, that's the easy life. Well, you say that for, someone who's in their 20s and 30s. Yeah. When you're in your 70s, that's not easy. That's not an easy lifestyle. All right. Late 60s, in the 70s. My Kruko doesn't travel anymore. Like I saw Kruko the other day at NBC. He does all the games, Dwayne Kuiper's like 70. Kuiper's older than all of them. Dwayne Kuiper's what, 73, 74?
Yeah, Euchre only does home games.
Dwayne Kuiper's the oldest of the broadcasters in the Bay Area now.
He's older than John.
He's older than John Miller.
Yeah.
Like Kuiper's older than Eck. Kuiper came up before Dennis Eckersley because if you know the story, Dwayne Kuiper and Dennis Eckersley are really close friends. They came up in the Indian system.
John Miller's younger than Korak.
Yeah, I just look at it.
No, not at all.
And none of them can play golf with Korak.
All I've ever heard is Korak's great at golf. That's all.
Ken Korak is a legit amateur golfer. Legit. Like, not like there's a lot of people who think they're good and think they can play a little bit. Ken Korak is a legit amateur golfer. Even at his age, like Ken Korak can kind of around. He puts those golf clothes on and whack, it's down the middle every time, and with some authority. Yeah, he's a sandbagging what. But yeah, I mean, that's getting why we got to this, because Justin Turner making that money. Telling you, man, that's why we're not going to get these greats of the greats, guys. It could be the unbelievable minds, not being in our game from a booth standpoint. You can get them for like playoffs and stuff. That's where football has the advantage, where you can have a Terry Bradshaw, a Howie Long, a Jimmy Johnson, a Michael Strahan. It's one day a week, right?
Boomer's
Phil
out.
Simms. Boomer's out.
Oh,
Phil
yeah.
Simms is out.
Yeah,
but back in the day, yeah.
Now it's J.J. Watt.
Controversial news at a Raider camp. We have a draft pick, a 7th round draft pick, talking trash to Patrick Mahomes.
Because that's always worked.
I know some of you are Niner fans. You're not going to care. I get it. But for us Raider people, who in the hell do you even know who Trey Taylor is?
No.
You don't know who Trey Taylor is?
I know who Troy Taylor is, the coach of Stanford.
Trey Taylor is a guy who thinks he's good enough that he can go out there and he can do a Kermit the Frog puppet, and it's gone viral about Patrick Mahomes. He's never played it. He's a 7th round pick popping off.
What college?
Air Force.
Wow, an Air Force guy drafted. Interesting.
7th round pick number 223 is popping off. Oh, it's all in fun. Dude, you're a rookie, and you're popping off to one of who's now an all-time great in Patrick Mahomes.
Some say the greatest quarterback ever already.
There's nobody saying that.
You listen to Sports Talk Radio in the Bay Area.
There's not one person. Anybody who says he's the greatest quarterback of all time clearly knows nothing about the National Football League.
Did someone say during the Super? Didn't Romo say it? He's the greatest of all time. I swear I thought Romo said it when he won the Super Bowl.
If you're saying that Patrick Mahomes is greater than Tom Brady, greater than Joe Montana, you are out of your mind.
No, if he wins a couple more, we'll pull him in the conversation. He's already at 3.
Who said it in the Bay Area? Throw their name out. Put a name on it.
It's a lot of local hosts that I listen that I've heard.
Local fans who've never worked in the NFL, they've even been on an NFL sideline.
But I swear Romo called him the greatest.
Patrick Mahomes could be. He could be up there. There's no, I mean, but to say he's the greatest all time, like if we had an all-time draft right now, you got to let that story play out. I'll tell you what, Lawrence Taylor came up and said, the rules the way they are now, you know who Lawrence Taylor says he'll take as the greatest quarterback of all time?
Dan Marino.
Joe Montana. And they had battles, the Giants and the Niners. Lawrence Taylor, the greatest football player of all time, said, oh, Tom Brady, you got to realize how they used to hammer quarterbacks. hammer quarterbacks. Al Davis always said, the quarterback must go down. First series, they used to bludgeon the quarterbacks. You couldn't touch these guys. You think you can go out and lay out Patrick Mahomes every game the way you could Joe Montana?
You can't even breathe on Mahomes.
The way Jim Burt leveled him in that playoff game. In the real rules of football back in the day, the gridiron football, the old days, Lawrence Taylor says, I'll take Joe Montana over anybody. That's Lawrence Taylor. Says a lot. I love Patrick Mahomes' skill set. I mean, still the greatest skill set's John Elway.
Yeah, it's hard to dispute that.
Mel Kiper will tell you, well, who's Mel Kiper? I mean, come on. At some point, can we give Mel Kiper a little credit? The guy's been doing the draft for 8 million years, longer than these guys have ever been alive. Like the greatest skill set of size, arm, speed, agility, throw on the run. I mean, John Elway was incredible. John Elway could have been a starting outfielder for the New York Yankees.
Who was it? Wasn't it like the Colts GM that said, who the hell is Mel Kiper? Was it the Colts?
It was the Colts. Yeah. What was his name? Yeah. Who's had a longer career in the NFL?
I'll take Mel
Kiper. All right. Earlier today, who we doing? Mark Langston?
Langston, yeah.
Love this guy. Absolutely love him. The lefty out of San Jose State, longtime big league pitcher, Mark Langston. Well, now joining us here on A's Cast Live, I always say it, he's my favorite Angel, and I can tell you, he's a 4-time All-Star. I can talk about the 7 Gold Gloves, and he led the American League in strikeout 3 times. What you may not remember is how he dominated the soccer fields in Santa Clara, and he's the greatest San Jose State Spartan baseball player of all time. My man, Mark Langston, back on the program. Mark, how are you?
Townsy, I'm well, man. Thanks for having me on.
People forget how much you were dominating the South Bay back in the day, athletically, soccer and baseball.
Yeah, soccer, I didn't even play soccer until I got to high school. And Rich Browse, our high school soccer coach, one of my all-time favorite coaches I've ever had at any level in anything, he put the soccer bug on me, and that became like a real sport for me, where baseball always was. And so I went out for the football team. It didn't work out. I was a skinny little kid that could run, and they put me on the line with the bags, and the linemen are just running over the top of me, squashing me. So that wasn't a whole lot of fun. So then, I told my mom, I'm good. I don't really need to play football. And she said, go do something. And so I went out for soccer. And then, by the time I was a senior in high school, I actually had more soccer scholarships than I did baseball scholarships. So that absolutely took over my world, because it was brand new and it's fresh every day. Soccer is such a great sport for kids. And I really appreciated the ability to, not the ability, but the opportunity to play at the high school level with a great coach, and to really lay down the framework for me. And it just helped me. It helped me along the way in the baseball world, as far as my footwork and being quick off the mound.
Well, yeah, the athleticism, right? You were always, not only you had the great stuff, we know about all the strikeouts and the wins and everything, but you talk about the 7 Gold Gloves. You were always considered, once you released the ball, you were truly like an infielder.
Yeah, I always had so much pride in my defensive abilities, from the standpoint of, I took ground balls every day at shortstop. I was a frustrated shortstop. Being left-handed, that was never going to come true. So, but I took ground balls every day at shortstop. And then with the Angels, was blessed every day to get ground balls out in the outfield from Jimmy Reese,
wow.
Babe Ruth's roommate, used to hit me fungos every day. And that was like the thrill of a lifetime. To be able to get out there and just the stories. I always tell people, playing at the big league level, so blessed in every possible angle. But the biggest blessing was be able to sit next to Jimmy Reese every night and hear the stories of Ty Cobb and Walter Johnson and Babe Ruth, on a nightly basis. It was unbelievable to have a history class with somebody that lived through it. Was unreal.
Yeah, that's just priceless. And I remember when you went to the Angels, you at that point were signing the biggest deal in the history of baseball, and it was a big deal. Like, do you ever think back of that going, man, I was the highest paid player of all time at like $16 million, and now you got Mike Trout making $400 million. Isn't it crazy how much the money has changed?
Yeah, certainly. And it's obviously where it's different. The guys before me, were just the same deal, so they looked at my deal and went, holy smokes, are you kidding me? So it's somewhat relevant, I think, to the times. And I feel the guys that really paved the way for us to be able to get contracts like that, they had to do a lot to lay down that foundation and lay down a lot of things for the players to be able to get to where they are today.
Well, I think about the two clubs going tonight. If we were doing this a couple months ago, oh boy, not looking good. But right now, the A's are, the way they're playing offensively, they're basically leading all of baseball in every category in July. And then the Angels now, all of a sudden, they've won 7 of their last 9.
Yeah, I'm with you. Obviously, just finishing that series in Oakland with the A's, you're exactly right. The A's, after a good start, I think a better start than anybody expected out of them, and then they had hit the woes. Angels were in the same boat. High expectations here. You were hoping for a healthy year out of Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon, and you didn't get it. And the improvements that they made where they tried to bolster the bullpen, and those didn't go right. So it was one of those, here we go again, and try to patch and put things together. And it's nice to see, both teams that have been at the bottom be competitive, make it a bumpy road for the guys that are in front of them. And certainly I think both these teams have done that. Obviously the Angels just ended up going up and sweeping the Mariners in a 3-game series, and really they're in a tailspin right now. So it's fun to do it. It's fun to, you'd rather be in a position that they're in than the position that we're all in, but it is what it is.
Since you've just been in Seattle, and I got to see the highlights every night on MLB Network of the series, but you start looking at the numbers, how fast the Mariners lost their lead in the West, how their offense is just so horrible. Now you got guys like J-Rod on the IL. Are you, now that you were up there, what was it like? And are you shocked just how bad offensively they are?
Yeah, I think that's been an issue for them for years. It's not like all of a sudden that has just occurred. That's been something that's been an issue for them for a while. They've tried to fix it. They tried to bring in some new guys to cut down on the strikeouts. It didn't work. Offensively, they've always been challenged. They have the best pitching in baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a staff anywhere that can come close to those guys. And I've said it every time before the series starts, if you're going to beat them, you better pitch with them. You better keep games close. If you keep games close, you're going to give yourself a chance to maybe, hopefully, one swing of the bat here or there can change the game. And the Angels definitely pitched with them in all 3 of those games. And as you mentioned, their offense is really struggling at this time. And our pitching was able to throw some zeros on the board against their guys who are always throwing zeros on the board.
We're starting to get excited about our young players. I know ever since the Angels started bringing guys up, forget AAA, let's just bring them up from AA, Shannawell and Neto. Is there excitement right now with some of the young players?
Yeah, I think a lot of the focus this year has been on that because they did lose Trout early. They did lose Rendon early. So that was kind of where they had to hang their hat. They had to hang their hat on a lot of these young guys who have not played a full season at the major league level yet. So our first baseman, who was drafted last year in the June draft, who came up last year, is getting on-the-job experience here. Our shortstop, Zach Neto, who was our first-round pick the year before. So, and then we made a big trade, and a guy, Brandon Marsh, who was he's a very talented player. And tough to give up an athletic guy like Brandon Marsh, but we got Logan O'Hoppe in the trade, who I think is going to be one of the star catchers in this league moving forward. He's a very talented young player who can catch and throw and showing some really good offensive ability. So you're right. The youngsters here with this team are the exciting part. And the Angels are just now starting to get healthier. Rendon's back. Trout was supposed to be back.
Yeah.
Should have been playing in this series. He's not. I don't think he's going to play in the series now. Had a little hiccup in his rehab. So That's been unfortunate. So you're starting to see some guys get healthy, and that definitely will help down the backside of this. But the young guys have been fun to watch. As you have talked about the young guys with the A's, it's fun to all of a sudden see these young guys who maybe shouldn't even be at the big league level put things together. So it's interesting that, both these clubs, when they get together, there's a lot of unfamiliar names on the field.
I told Gooby last time you guys were up here that you need to start an Irish pub called O'Hoppy's outside the Big A, be print money.
That's a great idea.
Right?
I love it. I'm in.
I'm like, let's get this kid. I mean, we'll get Angels pre and post game out there. We'll make a lot of money. Speaking of Trout, it's starting to get sad, right? I mean, it's now year after year. We've seen the majority of his career, right? And all of a sudden you start talking about he's only playing 42% of seasons now. I mean, he really had a chance to be an all-time great. And I'm just worried we're never going to see that. And just what is it like living it every day?
Yeah, I'm with you. The bar was set. He pushed the bar so high. And he was at that time going, is this the greatest player we've ever seen put a uniform on? He was doing things that you couldn't even believe you were seeing, making it look easy. And the great ones do. The great ones always make it look easy. And that's where Trout was. And then all of a sudden the injuries, they started stacking up. And we both know that when you get a little older, those things don't help you moving forward. It's harder and harder and harder every year that you play, working with a body that's starting to break down. So, we're hoping it was a meniscus tear, and it's taken way longer than I think anybody had anticipated. And we were excited to see him back this weekend, but his rehab didn't go well. But it's a once in a lifetime player that you're seeing. But is he gonna, now the numbers that you were going to project, there's no chance of him, I don't think, getting to those.
Yeah, we were talking about that upper, when you get well over 100 WAR and you start living in the territory of Ruth and Bonds and Ted Williams and Willie Mays and Hank Aaron and Ricky Henderson, he was on pace to have a seat at that table.
Oh, no question about it. There's no doubt about it. And, we had the opportunity to have Albert for 10 years here. And Albert, you look at Albert's numbers, and, a lot of people can, maybe don't think that Albert's with that table. He must be the guy at the head of the table when you really break down his numbers. So it was interesting because you saw Albert and Trout, you could match their numbers through the first 10 years and where they sat and where they were. And certainly they were on pace with each other. Trout was pacing what Albert did in the beginning of his career. So to me, Albert's going to go down as one of the greatest players that's ever put a uniform on. And Trout was certainly on that and pace. And, now he's going to still go down as one of the greatest players, but not, I don't think, in the same breath as what we were just talking about.
All right, let's end on this, because other than a brief stint in San Diego where you were under Bruce Bochy, you guys had a good run, got to the World Series against the Yankees in 1998. Your entire career, and also the Expos in late 80s, but pretty much your entire career was in the American League. I just wanted to get your thoughts of what it was like and what will your memories be of the Coliseum.
Yeah, obviously the Coliseum, is a very fond place for me because as a kid, I used to go to those games and watch the A's. When I was a kid, I remember being on the field for Camera Day. I got a picture of me and Dick Green, for Camera Day. So it was always a special place as a kid, going there and watching it. I've always told the story. Vita Blue is one of my big influences in my life. In my college days, if you look at any college pitchers, I was Vita Blue. I tried to pitch just like him. I had my hands in the same spot. I was a big proponent of using the lower half like Vita. So, that place is special. And then obviously my first opportunity to pitch there as a Seattle Mariner, I'll never forget the game because I had 72 people on the pass list and they took me out in the 7th inning. And here came all my high school buddies down screaming at our manager, "Why'd you take him out? he could have finished this. What are you doing? And I'm a punk rookie sitting on the end of the bench just going, oh, no, this is not good. And then obviously my first All-Star game was there at the Coliseum in '87. So really, really special place to me. I always enjoyed going there, even as a broadcaster, even though it's it's not the same, but it never bothered me. I always thought the atmosphere there was great, even though there wasn't a ton of fans, but the fans that were there, they were so passionate, and they made the game fun for an opposing broadcaster or opposing player because of the excitement that they brought to the game every night.
Well, we always like to bring you back home. And as I always say, the greatest San Jose State Spartan baseball player of all time. Be well, my friend. Good luck the rest of the season. We'll talk to you down the road.
Love it. Always great catching up with you. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, Oakland A's fans, step up to the plate with Xfinity Internet. Get the fastest speeds and low-lag streaming for an incredible viewing experience that knocks it out of the park. And you'll have a consistent connection with reduced buffering and freezing, so you can stay in all the action inning after inning. When it's game time, make sure to catch it all with internet that's powerful and reliable. Stream sports from the best seat in the house with Xfinity, because it's only live once. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Many factors affect speed. For factors affecting speed, visit xfinity.com/network management.
Where does one community end and the next begin? Across the railroad tracks? On the other side of the river? Is it between the east side and the west side? At Comerica Bank, we believe it's all one community, and we're all part of it. That's why Comerica has invested over $20 million for affordable housing, financial education, and workforce development in lower-income communities. Because when we raise expectations for everyone, we all rise. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
August 5th is International Trading Card Day, and Topps would like to celebrate with you. Visit your participating local hobby shop to receive a pack of cards, plus receive a special card if you purchase $10 or more of Topps products, while supplies last. You can also celebrate International Trading Card Day with Topps on August 5th at the Oakland Coliseum and receive an exclusive A's card pack. Follow @Topps on social media and visit Topps.com for more information.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean it. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
This is Chris Townsend, and it is summertime. You want to look your best, and I can't tell you how excited I am. Commander Cody, we've got our new shipment from Link Soul, all the summer gear. So whether you're playing golf or you're going out for dinner, you're hanging out with your buddies, or you're going to the beach, go see our friends at linksoul.com. And right now they have an offer where you can get 20% off. Go to linksoul.com. Remember, in the big leagues, look good, play good.
Hi, fans. This season, Kingsford Capital Management is the official hedge fund sponsor of the Oakland A's. At Kingsford, down to business is their way of seeing the world. Investing has its pitfalls, treacherous chasms of half-truth and despair. Kingsford's mission is to create opportunity through application of proven innovation and entrepreneurial focus with trust, tenacity, loyalty, and growth, establishing a strong reputation as a proven intended and validated bedrock of American finance. Kingsford Capital, down to business.
With the sunshine returning, it's time for golf, and more golf at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club. Cinnabar Hills is also your destination for great food with their beautiful renovated restaurant and quality craft beer selection at their full bar. Featuring a grass driving range and 27 championship caliber holes, Cinnabar Hills Golf Club is the best public course in the Bay Area. For more information, go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
Ever wondered what a 30-foot tall pistachio looks like? A giant redwood or Big Sur? Chevron with Techron will be there to help you see them and tons of other places you have to see to believe. Because with unbeatable mileage and a clean engine, cars feel great. So next time you want to fill up on a little adventure, an awkward family photo, or a new commute to work, make sure to fill up at Chevron's along the way. Your car and your memories will thank you. Chevron with Techron, fueled by possibility.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland, and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding. Love where you sleep.
If you're looking for a great place to eat and watch games, go see our friends at the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. The Chicken Pie Shop is one of the hottest restaurants in Walnut Creek. You're not going to find a better menu, and come try the world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next private party or corporate event. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
And the underdog Oakland Athletics win their first championship since they were in Philadelphia in 1930.
Hi, I'm Raleigh Fingers, Hall of Famer, 3-time World Series champion with the Oakland A's and World Series MVP. Winning takes teamwork, skill, and heart. So when you need an ace for a personal injury lawyer that will win you the game, go with the winning team. Call Venardi Zerata at 833-VZ-FOR-ME or go to vzlawfirm.com. Venardi Serrata, the official injury law firm of the Oakland A's.
Like sports, business is about winning. Championship decisions are business decisions based on what it takes to help your company win. And that's why there's UBO Business Services, specializing in helping you win every day by streamlining workflows, managing documents, and providing the best-in-class office technology. Make your championship decision with UBO Business Services. Visit them at ubeo.com. That's ubeo.com.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
You're listening to A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
All righty. Love having Mark Langston on. Great perspective. His stuff about the Coliseum's awesome, right? I mean, he grew up emulating Vita Blue. First All-Star game was at the Coliseum. I mean, Mark Langston played the majority, but other than 2 years. Oh, really? A year and a half, because he was only in Montreal for a little bit. It was after the trading deadline. And then San Diego in 98 at the end of his career. His whole career was in the American League. And it was all in the West, right? Seattle and Anaheim. So a great perspective, Mark Langston at the pitching at the Coliseum and growing up here in the Bay Area. And, you know, that's the thing is when you talk to these players, I mean, I always got this sense really early from Bob Melvin as we were getting to know Bob Melvin. Like if you were a young man in the 70s, I mean, you had a team here winning 3 straight World Series. I mean, as great as Willie Mays and Willie McCovey and Cepeda and Marichal and those guys, you had a team winning 3 straight World Series, 72, 73, 74. So if you're a kid, teenager, I mean, my God. And how big the World Series was back in those days. It was must-see television. Ratings were different. You only had 3 channels, and the World Series is on. I mean, that's why everybody talks about, you know, the swinging A's. And, you know, whenever we have this up right here, if you're just listening on A's Cast, I'm hitting the old, it's like an old wooden picture so it's an old wooden box, basically, that you can hang up, and it's the Swingin' A's logo. And that's why I've bought and Swingin' A's stuff. It's great, right? But that's far before my era. People remember that. Buster Olney from ESPN said the best thing he loves about coming on our show is seeing the helmet because it reminds him of Gene Tennis.
That's right.
Right? I mean, that's what it is. So someone like Mark Langston growing up in Santa Clara and being a standout baseball player, and he's left-handed, well, who's the premier left-hander in the game at that time who's in your area?
Vita Blue.
That guy, Vita Blue, who was the nicest man. God, do I still have his? That's Dick Callahan, the great Dick Callahan.
Well, one of them, I know it's up there somewhere.
Is it up here somewhere? That's Sal Bando. Find Vida. I think I got Vida on one of my lanyards.
It's on my bag. I have one on my bag.
Yeah, so that's why having Langston on today was like perfect for the perspective, because this is the last we see the Angels, right?
Yeah, already.
Like we didn't see him the first 80. They were game 81. How crazy is this? The Angels were game 81 in the schedule. So we played the first 80 games, team in our division. We didn't see him. When the A's played the Angels, it was the last of two teams in the same division playing each other for the first time. It was game 81. And then after Sunday, that's it. We don't see him again. So wanted to get Mark Langston's perspective, because the two guys that they have that are so great, Mark Gubazaw on television, obviously a Kansas City Royal, and Mark Langston, all-time great San Jose State player, but playing for the Mariners and the Angels. Both these guys spent their entire career playing against the A's at the Coliseum. And there's one thing every pitcher tells you, and Canseco told us this too last Sunday. This is before Mount Davis was built. It was even harder to hit. And with all the foul territory and no Mount Davis and the swirling winds, the reality is it was another ballpark phenomenal to pitch in. All these guys love, especially at night, right? Because Canseco, it was hard to believe when Jose told us, looking back on it, he always thought it was going to be easier to get the 40 steals than the 40 home runs. And when he said that, I was like, you kidding me? But yeah, with Mount Davis, it was a whole different deal. Do we have the great Bob Nightengale? Bob, how are you?
Hello?
Bob, are you there?
Yeah, here I am. I was calling you back. Okay, I'm here.
Welcome back to A's Cast Live. How are you, my friend?
Doing well. How about yourself?
We're doing well. Obviously, this time of the year, you're very busy with the trading deadline and all your duties with the USA Today. I'm just wondering how, I remember when we talked to you at the winter meetings in Nashville, not a lot was going on. We didn't have big splashes. Are you worried we're not going to have a lot of big splashes with this trading deadline?
I don't think we will. I really don't. I mean, I don't think there's one impact bat or arm out there that someone's going to say, oh, I'm in the playoffs now, or there we go to the World Series. I mean, Garrett Crochet is the best pitcher out there, and he's already went way past his career high in innings. So who knows how much he has left in the tank. Offensively, you got like a Luis Robert from the same team. There's just not much out there. I think we'll have a number of relievers and stuff, but I don't see any household names.
Yeah, the trading deadline. I mean, I talk about all the time, Bob, how we're talking about hedge fund baseball. No one wants to give up prospects. I mean, the whole deal has changed. I guess if there was one team other than the White Sox that could really excite people at the deadline, there's some big names in Toronto, but are the Blue Jays and Atkins, their GM up there north of the border, they going to be willing to part with guys like Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? Is that a possibility?
No, they're staying put. They're not moving those guys because they still want to go after this thing a year from now. Just like like your guy, Mason Miller. I mean, he's not going anywhere. I mean, he wasn't going anywhere before he broke his hand, but he still wasn't going anywhere. But no, that's why, hey, those guys are available. Be a different story, but they're not.
Yeah, we just had David Force, as we do, Bob, like every 2 weeks we have the GM show. And David, we're so used to the A's are either going one way or the other. They're either trading for people for the playoff run or they're trading for prospects. The A's have always traditionally been moving people, whether it's to acquire or they're going to trade people away for prospects. But David Force came on the show and said, you know what? I'm really content with what we have. We don't have to move anybody because of money. Then we got done with the interview, and we're talking to him during the commercial break, and he's like, yeah, I don't see us really moving anybody unless it may be a reliever or two. So all these names that you've heard, whether it's Brent Rooker or Mason Miller, it's Andujar, whatever, I'm going to be shut. Somebody's going to have to come in and offer some big pieces to pry anybody out of Oakland right now. Have you been hearing that too?
Yeah, I mean, teams like Rooker, but they're not in love with him because of defense. A lot of teams say, we don't want a DH. So that's what kind of holds him back. But, yeah, if you don't need it for money and, they have a low payroll, keep guys intact and make sure they can, all grow together. Besides, I mean, what are you going to get back? I mean, as good as Olson was, Matt Olson, as good as Sean Murphy was, nobody that came back in those trades, like, oh, my God, what a great prospect. Nobody was that guy. So prospects are just that. You're taking a gamble that they'll turn out.
You mentioned Crochet. What about Skubal in Detroit? Why would they're kind of feeling like they're on the cusp of doing something. Why would they trade him?
I don't think they will. I think they'd be nuts to do that. So I think, they listen. It's almost like, I remember covering the Padres with the, Kevin Towers as the GM. I mean, they told teams, hey, I'll listen to Trevor Hoffman. I'll listen to Tony Gwynn in case somebody makes a stupid type of offer. You listen to it, or just, you're kind of curious what a guy's word. So I think that's all they're doing. I don't see any way in the world they trade a Tarek Skubal. I mean, this guy is as good as any pitcher in baseball, and you got him for 2 more years.
It is so hard to navigate the waters, and it's great for the postseason when you have all these wild cards, but there's so many teams that are still in it. So it leads you to believe if there is a market out there, there's more buyers in the market than there are sellers. And it's like the sellers don't really have all that much to sell. And some of those sellers are in rebuild modes and they want to keep their young guys. So if you're a buyer out there and you're hot and heavy to go out and prove your team, how tough is it, Bob, if you're a buyer to go find people who will do business with you?
That's getting very tough. Just like you said, there's not that many teams that are out of the race. I mean, I know the Angels will still sell. They're not going to sell a bunch, but they will. But even the Angels are only 8 games out. I mean, the West is way down this year. I mean, Texas bounced back from the dead. Houston's bounced back from the dead. So your fan bases, I think, the Mets really wanted to trade, Alonso and, Quintana and a few other guys. But, when you're hanging around, the wild card race, you can't. Not in that market.
We love when the New York Yankees are a zoo, Bob. We just absolutely love it. When they lose, it makes a lot of A's fans happy after all the battles throughout all the years. Just how do you handicap what's going on, and how do you explain what's going on in New York? Because they got out to a hot start, and right now it is not looking good.
No, they remind you a little bit of the Dodgers. It's like, okay, yeah, you make the playoffs, you're going to go one run it out again. It's crazy the fact that Garrett Cole came back from the injury list, and that rotation is the worst in baseball. Since that's happened, got 2 guys with Judge and Soto, been a massive drop off. The bullpen's been a mess. So I think they'll be aggressive at the deadline. I think the Dodgers will too, because these 2 teams, particularly the Dodgers, it's World Series or a catastrophe. But Dodgers is almost anything short of winning the World Series is a nightmare for that franchise.
Yeah, they spent so much money in the offseason. They just can't keep anybody healthy. I mean, it's just a reality. I mean, now you got Kershaw back today. They beat the Giants. Whoa, talking about a team that, man, where are they going right now? Bob, where are the San Francisco Giants going? We got people in our neck of the woods talking about all of a sudden, should the Giants start to think about being sellers? I mean, you bring Bob Melvin in, you extend Farhan Zaidi. Like, what are you hearing about the San Francisco Giants? Speaking of zoo, it does not sound good across the bay.
No, man, I think they have to stay intact. It's too embarrassing otherwise. You're going to have some guys back. Robbie Ray looked good 2 days ago. Snell has finally bounced back from the dead. So we'll see what happens. But no, I think it'd be way too embarrassing to give up on this season for as much money as they spent. They think, okay, we got Snell, we got Chapman, we got Soler, and nobody has done much. So no, I think they stay intact and maybe get a little bullpen piece or something like that, but just go with what they have because they're still hanging the fringe of the wild card race. They're a sub 500 team.
One team that could be interesting, and I don't know what they're going to do. I haven't heard much. I just, every once in a while their name pops up, is the Tampa Bay Rays. And we know you never count out the Rays, but they've got some pieces. I mean, if you could get a Rosarena, if you could get a Pete Fairbanks, they've got some offense, they've got some pitching. What have you been hearing about the Rays? And I know their players, they've got some battle-tested guys that have been in the postseason before.
Yeah, I think this is the year they finally sell. Just not their year. So, yeah, they're going to move those guys, like you said. Paredes, move him. Zach Eflin, got a lot of interest from teams like Atlanta and St. Louis. So, but, yeah, I think they finally has caught up with them. Every year they overachieve. But, they've been kind of like the A's of the East Coast, overachieve all those years, and eventually it just caught up with them.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do. If you could put a trade with a couple guys, who do you think will be moved? Who could we're not talking huge blockbuster deals, but you got a couple names that could excite people for the deadline. At least you think somebody might get moved at some point.
Oh, I do. I mean, I think guys like Lane Thomas, those type of guys. Could end up in Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia really needs, Philadelphia, the Dodgers, the Yankees all need a late inning guy. So we'll see who that is. And probably Tanner Scott from Miami. They're gonna get a great draw from him just because there's no real closers available. Zach Eflin, I really think he'll end up in Atlanta or St. Louis. Both teams need a veteran starter. But we're not talking about household names. And the White Sox, they're going to move all those guys. Crochet is a fascinating piece just because you don't know what he can bring you the rest of this year. The guy's making almost a minimum salary. So you got him. You got the center fielder, Luis Robert, Tommy Pham, Paul DeYoung, on and on. So they got piece. Eric Betty is probably a nice piece. Good number 3 type starter. He'll get moved. So I would think the White Sox might be the epicenter of the trade deadline because they're going to move about 7 guys.
You mentioned the Atlanta Braves. We're here. They had this big ticket convention type deal in Atlanta for all the people in baseball. Somebody we know that works for us just got back from this deal in Atlanta, and he was telling us, he goes, wow, there's a lot of bad mojo going on in Atlanta. And then after we hear that, now we're hearing about a players-only meeting. What is happening with the Atlanta Braves? They're one of the favorites.
Well, just crushed with injuries. I mean, when you're losing Spencer Strider right out the gate, when you're losing Ronald Acuna Jr., the MVP, and then it goes on and on. Michael Harris has been hurt. Now you just lose Ozzie Albies. So still a great franchise, well run. One of the best GMs in the game with Alcantopoulos, but just injury after injury after injury. It's amazing they're doing as well as they are. And some guys have had bad years. Except for their DH Marcelo Ozuna. Guys like Matt Olson have really struggled this year.
We started getting into an era where we didn't value managers. We didn't think the manager, it's all about the front offices and the data, but I always talked about it with Bob Melvin. You need to have an adult in the room. You got to have a guy at the front of the plane, the front of the bus, the leader, a guy that the players trust, and a guy that can be the tough hand on the players, kind of like a father figure at times. Alex Cora has been a great manager. He's had some issues, but he has been a great manager. What did you think about the 3-year extension staying in Boston? Because that was always kind of like the thing hanging over. Was he going to be a free agent after this season?
Yeah, I think he definitely had his eyes wide open. I think, realistically, he said, okay, what's better out there? I don't want this job to go away and not get something I really want. So, I think Toronto's going to open up. Obviously, the White Sox aren't going to pay him what he wants. I think he said, you know what? And the grass isn't green on their side. Let me stay put. And he's very good. I mean, he would have got a big time contract for a number of teams. But you hate to wait and see. Okay, the Yankees going to blow it up, or the Dodgers, or the Philadelphia Phillies if they don't go to the World Series. So I don't think you want to be in that waiting game either.
Yeah, there could be some interesting jobs open this offseason if, like you said, teams don't win the World Series. If teams don't make the playoffs or they don't have a run in the postseason, you could have some big jobs opening up. It'll be interesting. But, Bob, we're going to be following you on X. We're going to be waiting for the big moves to drop. I'm like you. I don't think a lot of big ones are going to – our game is changing. It is what it is with the extra wild cards, and people are fighting to get in the postseason, more buyers and sellers. But we'll be following you. We always appreciate the time. You be well, my friend. We'll be checking in later this season.
All right. Look forward to it. Thank you, everybody. See you, Chris.
The great Bob Nightengale from the USA Today. He's been doing this a long, long time. And I've been saying it, but you guys all say, what do you know? You're just the boob on after the game.
I mean, if we're looking at a deadline where the biggest player traded,
Garrett Crochet.
I mean, he wants and apparently he wants a new deal when he gets traded.
What does that mean?
You're telling me the biggest guy that gets traded at the deadline could be Lane Thomas, Eric Fetty,
Jazz Chisholm.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple guys that Giants have that are.
By the way, I do not like Jazz Chisholm. To me, there's just something about the guy, right? I'm not in love with the player. I don't like the player, John. I'm not a big fan. And
the Yankees apparently don't like. There's something about his demeanor that they don't like. Personality for their clubhouse.
There's a lot of things that are said about it. And then your French Cuban in center, who's my center fielder in fantasy baseball,
Luis Robert.
He's had some lackluster efforts this year. If you watch Quick Pitch or MLB Network, there's been just some really bad efforts by him. If those are the two biggest guys that you got here at the deadline, if you're telling me you're taking Vladdy Jr. away, you're taking Bo Bichette away.
That throws my hot take out the window.
Yeah, that's why if you guys are watching this and I'm pointing at him, this guy's been hot take. Toronto's going to get rid of everybody. I mean, if you're telling me the two big names are going to be Jazz Chisholm and Luis you sure it's not Robert,
yeah.
As you once tried to pawn him off? Luis Robert, if you're trying, those are the two, and most people go, because remember, you got to bring the guys into your clubhouse. You're trying to win. Man, who the hell is going to get traded? I mean, what's Jerry DiPoto going to do as they are sinking right now with one of the great elite pitching staffs? The Seattle Mariners are sinking because they just cannot score runs.
Only one team scored less runs than them in the month of July. Who am I?
Less runs?
Yeah.
I don't know, because the team I follow has scored the most runs.
That'd be the 27 and 77, 50 games under 500 Chicago White Sox. I think they've scored 57 and the Mariners are 58.
Well, I mean, isn't it a travesty? Not that, I mean, I can't stand the Mariners, and I have no reason to say that. They've never done anything to me.
You hate
personally.
the Moose. I get it.
I hate the Mariners. I hated King Felix. We got to see him at the Tokyo Dome. Then we got to see him opening day. Felt like we'd play the Mariners 30 times a year. But really, to waste this pitching, this pitching is almost scandalous.
Remember, they DFA'd Ty France, who was an all-star for them a couple of years ago, and he's just not hitting. J-Rod's on the injured list.
He had a decent year last year.
Crawford's on the injured list. So the one team that's interesting that has pieces that they haven't set, Farhan's mentioned that they could be sellers, is the Giants. One guy, Camilo Duvall, if you want to trade your closer, he's a guy. You've got Blake Snell.
God, that's going to be ugly.
You got Robbie Ray you could trade. Hey, the Giants, look at it this way.
Robbie Ray, how much money is left on his deal?
He's a free agent after this season.
Is it after this year?
I'm pretty sure.
He looked great yesterday. I watch highlights. He looked good yesterday. He pumped 97 by
pants were still tight too. So
he's always from Toronto to Seattle. He's
he's not a free agent according to Baseball Reference until 2027.
He pumped
unless he has player options or team
options. He pumped 97 by Towny. He's got a new arm yet.
Let's see what his deal's like real quick.
He's got a lot. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. He can opt out after the 20. He can opt out after this season. So if he doesn't want to be a Giant, he can become a free agent. If not, you're paying him $25 million the next 2 years each year.
God. But Tommy John, new arm. Do you take that risk? You're taking off. Basically, you trade for him whatever money's left on this year and $50 million after that.
So right now the Giants sit 5.
Do you do that?
What, trade for him? I would.
Well,
he can opt out. So what if you don't want?
Yeah,
that's the risk you're
it's
playing.
So funny. We always talk about these guys opting out of these big money deals, and they don't ever seem to really ever opt out that much. You know who opted out? A-Rod.
Yeah.
Because he knew he could get more. Yeah. How many guys really opt out? Because you got this guaranteed.
Strasburg, and then he resigned.
Here, I got, let's say I got like $70 million guaranteed, but I can opt out. For some reason, they like that knowing they got that $70 million guaranteed. It's like Bellinger. You think Bellinger's going to opt out? You think Matt Chapman's going to opt out?
No. Giants 5.5 back in the wild card. Giants, same amount of games back in the division as the A's, 13.
How bad of a look will it be if the San Francisco? I'll be laughing. I will be laughing hysterically if they start to sell. As we are moving to Sacramento and they become sellers at the deadline, I might have a show of 2 hours of just laugh tracks of the stuff that they've said. They're fans amongst us who you and I know our friends are all Giant fans who live around us. I will be laughing at, the Ray Liotta, the laughing emoji from Casino. I'll be sending it to everybody. When he's laughing hysterically.
Is that Casino or Goodfellas? He's not in Casino, is he?
It probably is Goodfellas. One of the mob genre movies from that where it's a great one. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, he was Goodfellas.
Yeah.
All righty. Tomorrow, the comp for Jacob Wilson.
Oh.
The comp for Jacob Wilson by Billy Owens, assistant general manager you're going to love, and the Mark Kotze Show. Thank you to Mark Langston. Thank you to Bob Nightengale. Cody, technology-wise, were you right today or wrong?
I was wrong.
You were wrong. See,
but we fixed it.
It's okay to admit you're wrong.
But we fixed it. That's what we do here.
It's okay to admit you're wrong.
I don't need it. I don't need a whole staff. I do it myself.
Oh, look at that. I don't need anybody else. All right, coming up next, A's Total Access right here on A's Cast and the A's Radio Network.
Where does one community end and the next begin? Across the railroad tracks? On the other side of the river? Is it between the east side and the west side? At Comerica Bank, we believe it's all one community, and we're all part of it. That's why Comerica has invested over $20 million for affordable housing, financial education, and workforce development in lower-income communities. Because when we raise expectations for everyone, we all rise. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Being a Chevron car these days has been quite the adventure. Miami to Seattle, ocean to ocean. I've stopped at so many states and collected so many bumper stickers. Sometimes I feel like a moving passport book. It's just so great what I can do with Chevron with Techron, because it gives me unbeatable mileage and keeps my engine clean. Plus, there are so many Chevrons along the way. Now the only thing I'm worried about is where to go next and where to put all my new bumper stickers. Chevron with Techron, fueled by possibility.
August 5th is International Trading Card Day, and Topps would like to celebrate with you. Visit your participating local hobby shop to receive a pack of cards, plus receive a special card if you purchase $10 or more of Topps products while supplies last. You can also celebrate International Trading Card Day with Topps on August 5th at the Oakland Coliseum and receive an exclusive A's card pack. Follow @Topps on social media and visit Topps.com for more information.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
This has been a presentation of the Oakland Athletics.